massive amounts of money was given away to foreign countries under the guise of aid programs is a good example. And Australia has even given away millions of dollars to the Sultan of Brunei, who's probably one of the richest men in the world. We borrowed more money from the international banks. We gave it away to Vietnam, Indonesia, South Africa. We borrowed more and spent it on multiculturalism. We spent it on social welfare, paying for people for not going to work. We took in hundreds of thousands of immigrants, even though we have very high unemployment. And we immediately paid them dole money, food and housing, and gave them free medical benefits. Now we owe so much money to the international banks that we cannot even pay the interest on those loans. Soon the banks may come and take over control of our forests, our water and our land. That is, our natural resources. We will lose all social welfare. There will be no more free medicine, no more dole, no money for single mothers or old sick people, those that are in need. And the essentials such as food and gasoline and rents will become very, very expensive. So whoever owns the international banks we owe money to, they control Australia, and not our politicians, as many so naively believe. World currency can be brought in when the bankers decide that enough countries in the world are deep enough in debt to take it over their control. The banks may declare these certain countries bankrupt, has been done before, and unable to pay their debts. Stock markets will probably crash and the currency of these countries will become worthless. The banks will immediately take over ownership of all mortgage properties and businesses. At that stage the banks will probably also cancel the money system we have in use today, and everyone will be forced to use a plastic debit card, not a credit card, a debit card, which means that because nobody has any money, real money anymore, in order to buy anything, we'll have to borrow the money at high interest rate from the bank. And of course, that will put each and every one of us deeper into debt, and we will be in a further debt spiral which we can never escape from. There could be civil wars which could break out all over the place, but you must have noticed that by now that in most Western countries it is forbidden to own a gun, and only the government agencies like the police and the army are legally allowed to carry weapons. Here in Australia, our police and military are being trained to do just that. You only have to watch the news to see police and military forces constantly being pitted against civilians all around the world. But even if our own military will not act against us, the citizens, our government certainly could just happen to bring in a few thousand United Nations peacekeepers to keep the peace. If the Cubans had been able to keep their guns, their weapons, how long would Castro have survived? And the first thing that Lenin did to the Soviet people was to disarm them. That way they could no longer keep the revolution going, and in particular weren't able to protect themselves against their own corrupt politicians. Therefore I feel that citizens should have the right to protect themselves. The world currency will most probably be electronic. The American Star Wars program, as you may know, has been, or was set up not only for defense purposes, but actually to carry international banking information. But by telling the American people it was for their defense, they managed to get the American taxpayer to pay for it. Otherwise the banks would have had to pay for it themselves. So when everyone in the Western world has been issued with a smart card, all banking business can be done electronically. As you know, the system has been set up a long time ago. Now, however, as these cards will be debit cards to stop people stealing or copying other people's cards, the banks will insist that every card carrier must be registered and, of course, given a personal number. Now, this personal number will be your number for life. You will not be allowed to buy or sell anything without it. It will be registered on a worldwide computer system. This is easily done, and every move you make can be registered. Everything you buy or sell can be tracked and registered. Not only the end of tax fraud, it essentially could be the end of robbery, the end of drug dealers too, because every move that is made by a person can be registered by the computer. Now, the world government will love it because they will control all taxes and all drug dealers. It might make them more efficient in their drug dealing from their past efforts. Now, all your finances will be totally controlled by the banks and the groups that own them. You will not be able to buy a bus ticket if they don't want you to do so. It's the people who control the people who control the banks. It's a group of elites who have world passports that control the new world order. But there are quite a few groups, both political and religious, that are unwittingly supporting the idea of world government and helping to promote the new world order elite to gain control. These people may be well-intentioned, but they are misinformed and easily controlled for the purposes of the New World Order. They would include the Marxists, International Socialists, even the Baha'i Church, just to name a few. These groups, who now hope and who are working towards a world government, do not yet realize that when the elite are in power, that these groups who assist them to come to power will be made illegal. And if we look at the example of the former Soviet Union, they can be liquidated once they have been used for the purpose of the establishment of this new world order.
Im März 1975 trafen sich in Lima, Peru, die Mitglieder der UNIDO. Aus dieser Konferenz entstand die sogenannte Lima-Deklaration. Dieser Vertrag wurde von allen westlichen Industrienationen unterschrieben. In diesem Vertrag haben sich die Industrienationen verpflichtet, ihre Industrien und ihre Fabriken abzubauen und sie in den Drittweltländern aufzubauen. Seit 1975 sind mehr als die Hälfte aller australischen Industrien abgebaut worden und nach Asien gegangen. Die Produkte, die wir jahrelang selbst gebaut und hergestellt haben, müssen wir jetzt aus dem Ausland importieren. Jeder vierte Arbeiter in Australien ist jetzt arbeitslos.